In a previous interview, you talked about struggling throughout the season. So what changed and how are you able to turn the page so that the end of the season went a lot better?
At the beginning of the 2024 season, Lexie Hull was on the verge of being forgotten. Drafted 6th overall in 2022, the former collegiate star struggled to establish herself with the Indiana Fever under then-coach Christy Sides. The once promising national champion watched from the sidelines as others took her minutes, and fans wondered if she would ever reach her full potential.
So you have basketball in your genes. Your grandfather played basketball, your dad, and you have a twin sister who you played basketball with growing up. What was it like growing up in that family dynamic?
Well, we have a super competitive family, and having my dad play basketball collegiately, knew that basketball was going to be put in my hands at an early age. But my parents were, super excited about having us try every sport imaginable. So yeah, we grew up, my sister and I, playing a little bit of everything.
Then came Caitlin Clark, a sensational superstar whose explosive style of play dominated the WNBA. Not only did Clark alter the Fever's offensive strategy, but she also altered team dynamics and individual performances. Everyone was impacted by Clark's presence, but Lexie was particularly affected.
It was important to get to know her off the court because I do think that, connections, getting to know people really play a part in the success of teams.
Lexie revealed what transpired behind the scenes in her most recent interview with She's for Sports and the Dunker Spot. What does this tale tell about the emergence of the Indiana Fever, and how did Clark's leadership change Hull's course? Prepare to learn more. One of the WNBA's greatest inspirational comebacks and the untold truth about redemption camaraderie.
She's been called the clutch player by WNBA fans, and she was drafted to the W in 2022 with the Indiana Fever in the first round as the 6th pick. I'm talking about professional basketball player Lexie Hull.
The start of the 2024 season couldn't have been worse for her. In 2022, Lexie Hull was selected 6th overall. She had played a significant role on Stanford's national championship squad, but 2 years into her WNBA career, she was benched while players like Christy Wallace and Katie L. Samuelson performed ahead of her.
And at the beginning of the season, my playing time definitely looked different than it did at the end. So trusting that, I was staying ready, putting in the work so that when I did get the minutes out on the court, that I could take full advantage of them. So I was just really proud of myself for trusting the process and staying the course.
However, it was difficult for H to trust the process because it was difficult to make the mental shift from being a college star to vying for a spot in the WNBA.
The basketball part of the transition is really tough. Everybody out on the court was one of the best players on their college teams, definitely the best player likely from their high school team. So it's just this mishmash of the best basketball players, and then you're playing against people that have been there for years and years.
Fans were growing frustrated as the Fever struggled as a team, starting the season with a miserable 1-win, 8-loss record, and tension was felt in the locker room.
Just sick that we had lost so many games, and also feeling like we were better than that.
Criticism of the rotations on the team, defensive errors. Headlines were dominated by coaching and a lack of cohesion, leaving players to deal with a maelstrom of uncertainty and annoyance.
My role is just getting to the open spots, and we have such a good offense that people find the open person. So to be that open person, you get excited. You get excited for the opportunity to shoot and score and be part of the, the momentum.
She dedicated herself to honing her shooting and cutting skills so she could take advantage of each chance that presented itself. Hull also acknowledged that her teammates kept her motivated. What does it feel like to play off of Caitlin Clark, Mitchell Kelsey, and Boston Aaliyah?
They make my job really easy, right? It's awesome. And it's really cool to see all of them just grow, not only from this year, but playing 3 years with Kelsey, 2 years with Aaliyah. They're so impressive.
Presenting Caitlin Clark, the phenom, whose entrance was nothing short of revolutionary for the Indiana Fever, who are renowned for their breathtaking highlights and fierce rivalry. Desperate for a spark, Clark entered a locker room, and she found one. As soon as Clark joined the squad, the mood shifted, spectators were giddy, ticket sales skyrocketed, and practices became electrifying.
I think it's really fun because they garner so much attention, obviously, from the other team's defense. So then it allows the other players, me included, to make cuts, make reads, and they're really good at finding, those openings and giving the ball up when it's needed and finding the better shot. So it's really fun, and I feel really lucky to get to play with them.
In practice, we compete against men. Laughing if they're not winning, Hull remarked. That intensity wasn't just for show. It carried over into games, when Caitlin's ability to predict moves before they happened left defenders reeling. She would stop at nothing to ensure they're contending.
I mean, I definitely got passes and tried to finish when I wasn't expecting to get the ball. So now it's okay, every cut I have, every cut I make, every fast break I run, I have a real opportunity to get the ball, which definitely took me a second. And I think it really just took one of those to really get my head around oh, she's all the way down at the other end of the floor and she could still make the pass to me down at the block at this end. So, it's been awesome.
The team started scoring more frequently as a result of Clark's ability to read defenses and deliver passes into tight windows, which abruptly changed the Fever's offense and left players like Hull wide open in areas they hadn't been before. She's making passes that I didn't think were possible, Hull added.
It's so fun to be able to know that you're not just cutting to cut, knowing that you're cutting with the possibility of actually making a really cool play. So that makes it that much more worthwhile.
Players soon started consuming her energy, thinking they could compete with anyone in the league, as her competitive fire was infectious and encouraged everyone to step up their game. Clark's entrance was about culture rather than just numbers or spectacular plays. Hull explained how the players instantly connected with Clark's maturity and leadership.
Sees the game at a bigger scale, obviously with the platform that she's created for herself, and then that's transitioned to the game. It's huge. And I think for me, especially as a point guard and as someone that's delivering a lot of the passes that lead to shots, if I miss, she's definitely going to say, you got the next one. I can count on her for keeping me confident and positive. So yeah, I think that shows the player that she is and the leader she is as a point guard.
And increased their efforts as the Fever started to solidify, transforming their offensive into a unified dynamic force. When you know you have a genuine chance to make a play, as Paul stated for the Fever, the game becomes much more enjoyable. Clark wasn't merely a rookie. She was a game changer. However, would her arrival be sufficient to salvage the season? The answer will become clear in the coming weeks.
It's really awesome to get to know her as well because, she's a great person, but you have all these expectations put on her and our team has put on her and fans have put on her. So to see her kind of be so mature in that transition, it's been really awesome. And I'm just really proud to, have her on the team, and it's been exciting.
We understand that viewing this video takes up some of your time. So please remember to subscribe, and enable all notifications if you've made it this far and are enjoying it. Let's get back to the action.
Indiana Fever had a history-making year. What was that like for you to be a part of that?
I'm really grateful for the opportunity to not only play in the WNBA, but to be on a team like the Indiana Fever. I've seen so much growth, not only on the team side, how we're performing on the court, but also the growth in fans. On the road, it felt like home games. We're playing in sold-out arenas that we have not played in the last 2 years before that. So, it's just really exciting.
The journey of the Fever from chaos to chemistry took time, and their efforts throughout practices, rather than a game, were what marked the turning point. Hull talked about hard scrimmages where Caitlin wasn't scared to push us to change anything that wasn't functioning because of Clark's competitive nature. Coaches noticed the team's increasing resilience as the Fever's practices evolved from drills to battles, and from those battles, a team identity started to emerge for Hull. Paul recalled that her energy was contagious and that we knew we had to match it.
All of it comes down to trusting the process, and part of that process is making sure that the work's getting done.
Paul spent the Olympic break honing her cuts and increasing her shooting consistency. We practiced for a whole month, and she remarked that watching my percentages rise gave me the confidence I needed.
I think one thing that our coaches did during that break, we had a full month of practice pretty much during the Olympic break, and they would put up every day after practice our shooting percentages from 2s and 3s during drills, during scrimmages, during everything. And I think that helped me because, some people were probably like, it's so annoying, whatever, but I personally liked it.
By the time the season's second half arrived, Hull had transformed from a backup to a crucial member of the team's offensive unit. Hull's comeback was greatly aided by Clark's arrival. Her ability to attract defenders gave Hull the chance to prosper. Hull stated that because Kelsey and Caitlin attract so much attention, it creates opportunities for players like me to cut and find openings. Hull started to see the fruits of her labor on the floor as her shooting percentage increased, and she produced pivotal plays and moments that helped the Fever spread.
Numbers don't lie, unfortunately, and they're very drastic. My first 2 years, I was just so upset because I was putting in so much work, and my shooting percentages, I would granted get like 1 or 2 at the max threes a game. So it's hard to be super efficient when the pressure is really on for those couple shots. But the numbers don't lie, so it really allows you to look at improvements and really shoot for goals and keep yourself accountable. And
Hull shared the belief that unity was what got us through those difficult times, and as the Fever began winning games, the impact of their chemistry became undeniable. Once a struggling team had turned into a playoff contender, fans noticed and flocked to arenas and social media with support. It's difficult to put into words how much it meant to us to play in front of a sold-out audience at home after hearing Hull talk about the electricity in crowded arenas. Social media, the team's rallying of Fever supporters, generated more buzz and gave Indianapolis a newfound sense of pride.
All of these people were supporting me this whole time, and I didn't know that they were supporting me until that moment. So you kind of forget that there's these people behind the scenes until they come out of the woodwork and say I've been following along this whole time. I'm so proud of you. And that just feels so good to know that there's, such a community behind everybody on our team, even when you don't hear it every day.
With Clark leading the charge and Hull finding her rhythm, their transformation wasn't just a comeback story. It was a statement. The Fever didn't just help the team qualify for the playoffs. They were trying to redefine what they could accomplish. The question now was how far they could go and how long this unity could last in the face of growing expectations.
You and Erica Wheeler started swapping outfits, so where did that idea come from?
Our styles are so drastically different. So we were just joking, I wonder what it would look like if you could pull it off. And the first outfit was something so outside of what I would have ever picked out of my closet. And I was that's not going to look good on me. I'm all right, let's try. So then I tried it on and everyone was you pull it off, you pull it off. So then it just became part of the pregame tradition. And it's a really fun, lighthearted way to just, get us in the mood to play.
For athletes such as Lexie Hull, the newcomer, the Fever's rise changed their life off the court as well. Both excitement and unforeseen difficulties came with fame. Suddenly, a grocery shop in Indianapolis became the scene of numerous meet and greets.
Walking through the grocery store in Indianapolis and trying to just go get some groceries and someone fist bumps me and says, "Go Fever." That's just a really cool environment, and it shows the dedication of the fans and the fandom in the city. So that part's been awesome.
With crowded arenas and social media ablaze following every match, the Fever players found themselves negotiating the two-edged sword of fame, but the pressure of being in the spotlight wasn't always fun.
It's pretty obvious. We have people filling the stands. We have people cheering. We have people so excited for the individual success of the teams, but also the league as well as the players. So there's so many more eyes on the game.
For her and her teammates, social media in particular presented a special challenge because of the never-ending barrage of encouraging and debilitating comments.
It's hard. It's easy to say, don't read it. But everybody does a little bit. And I think it's having that support system to help keep you on track.
However, the emotional toll of fame was genuine even with this strategy. Hull talked about having periods of self-doubt, particularly after difficult losses. It's a necessary part of the work, but it's not easy. Despite these difficulties, the team developed a supportive and accountable culture that protected one another from outside distractions.
The thing is finding people to kind of get you out of that cycle and get you to thinking about the positive things you did, even though a lot of times people online aren't talking about the positive things.
The constructive actions you took the locker room turned into a safe haven where the emphasis was on development and friendship rather than outside pressures, despite the fact that most of the time people online don't discuss the positive aspects. Through it all, the Fever learned to embrace the spotlight without losing their identity. For Hull and her teammates, the season was about more than just basketball. It was about learning to survive in a world where the stakes were higher than.
The fact that people are talking about the WNBA, people are tuning in to our games, that's what we want to hear, and that's only going to get us farther as we go on.
The journey of the Indiana Fever from a difficult beginning to emerging as one of the WNBA's most talked about teams this season was nothing short of remarkable. They have demonstrated that perseverance and collaboration can get them through even the most difficult obstacles. Clark's leadership both on and off the court gave the team the spark they needed. She's not just a star player. She's a force that improves everyone around her. Her ability to grasp opportunities when they present themselves was crucial in helping the Fever turn their season around. Hull's transformation was a testament to perseverance and hard work.
I think it's moving in a good direction. I think that it's because it's more competitive and there's more eyes on it. The pool of coaches that we can choose from, I think, will only get bigger and bigger. I think we're going to have great coaches coming up, and just excited to see, what those eras look like. Like, it's unpredictable at this point, but excited to, talk about it in a year from now.
The Fever's resurgence was about redefining what this club stands for, not just about wins and losses. As Hull stated, we're not just playing for ourselves, we're playing for something bigger. As the Fever looks to the upcoming season, the possibilities are endless, with Clark at the forefront. Arenas, a thriving fan base, and a team culture based on trust and accountability have put the Fever on a path to sustained success. The roster is full of potential, with Hull playing at the top of her game and all-stars like Aaliyah Boston and Kelsey Mitchell. The Fever are no longer just contenders. They are a force to be reckoned with, but this is only the beginning. They have proven that they can overcome adversity and thrive. Only time will tell where they end up next year. Please share your thoughts in the comment section, subscribe, and enable all notifications so you don't miss anything. We'll see you in the next one. Click the video on the screen.